If there's one thing we've all experienced, it's the magnetic pull of a flashy story. The allure of a clever anecdote, dressed up in technical jargon or pronounced with the authority of a best-selling author or influencer, can feel irresistible. After all, humans are wired for stories. We crave explanations that are simple, satisfying, and most importantly, certain. But flashy stories often deceive, and catchy anecdotes, while easy to remember, tend to oversimplify the complexity of reality. The problem with these neat little tales is that they create the illusion of understanding. We hear a sharp one-liner or a dramatic case study, and suddenly we feel like we've cracked the code. But much like a beautifully wrapped gift box with nothing inside, catchy anecdotes are often empty of real insight. They fail to capture the messiness and unpredictability of the world, and more dangerously, they trick us into believing we've learned something meaningful when we haven't. Common sense, on the other hand, is a much quieter force. It doesn't dazzle us with grandiose claims or provide us with neat moral conclusions. It often feels mundane and even boring, but this is precisely why it's so powerful. Common sense is grounded in experience, in paying attention to the small but significant details of life, in listening to that inner voice that tells you when something just doesn't feel right, no matter how impressive the packaging may be. It's not trying to sell you anything, it's simply there, offering a sober, unpretentious view of things as they are. Take, for instance, the infamous 10,000-hour rule. Malcolm Gladwell popularized this idea in his book Outliers, suggesting that with enough practice, roughly 10,000 hours of it, anyone could become an expert. It's a neat, digestible concept, backed by anecdotal examples of musicians and athletes who seemingly achieved greatness through sheer persistence. But is that the whole story? Hardly. Later studies and countless real-world cases showed that while practice is important, factors like innate talent, the quality of practice, and pure luck also play enormous roles. Yet the 10,000-hour rule persists because it's a catchy anecdote. It sounds logical, and it gives people a sense of control over the chaos of achievement. Contrast this with common sense. Common sense doesn't claim that mastery is just a matter of clocking hours. It suggests what we already know deep down: success is messy. Sometimes you work hard and fail anyway. Other times you stumble into success with half the effort. Common sense acknowledges that the world is too complex to be neatly captured by a soundbite or a catchy rule. It tells us to be skeptical of easy answers and to trust the slow, unglamorous process of paying attention to reality as it unfolds. Consider the recent rise of the 5 a.m. club myth. Popularized by self-help gurus and productivity influencers, this idea suggests that waking up at 5 a.m. every day is the secret to success. The logic is simple. Early risers get a head start on the world, which leads to greater productivity and accomplishment. But does waking up at dawn guarantee success? Of course not. Plenty of successful people don't adhere to this rigid schedule. Factors like individual energy levels, work-life balance, and personal preference play far greater roles. Yet the 5 a.m. myth persists because it's easy to sell. An actionable one-size-fits-all approach that oversimplifies the complexities of personal achievement. Another example is the hustle culture mantra, often summarized as "sleep is for the weak" or "you can sleep when you're dead." It glorifies constant grinding and working late into the night, with the idea that relentless effort is the only path to success. However, recent studies show that chronic sleep deprivation leads to burnout, reduced cognitive function, and long-term health issues. Still, the myth survives, fueled by stories of Silicon Valley entrepreneurs who hacked their way to the top by sleeping 4 hours a night, ignoring that such practices are unsustainable for most people. Then there's the myth of passive income, often touted by influencers as the ultimate goal for financial freedom. Build a few online revenue streams and watch the money roll in while you sip margaritas on a beach. While passive income is possible, the reality is far more nuanced. Setting up these systems requires immense upfront effort, time, and often a bit of luck. Yet the myth endures because it taps into the dream of effortless wealth, oversimplifying the amount of work and risk involved in building long-term financial stability. Each of these modern myths, like the 10,000-hour rule, thrives because they offer simple, catchy solutions to complex problems. They give people a false sense of control in a world where success is rarely straightforward. Common sense also beats catchy anecdotes because it's less susceptible to manipulation. Flashy anecdotes are often weaponized by people in positions of authority or influence, used to sell products, ideas, or themselves. The corporate CEO who tells you that all it takes to succeed is grit might be conveniently leaving out the part where they inherited a fortune to start their business. The self-proclaimed financial guru who promises that you too can unlock financial freedom by following their three-step plan might be more interested in selling you their next book than actually helping you. When you strip away the buzzwords and marketing, what's left? Common sense, which reminds us that if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. That hard work doesn't always lead to success, but it's usually better than doing nothing. That flashy words from self-styled experts often mean less than a quiet moment spent reflecting on your own experiences. Common sense doesn't need to dress itself up to convince you. It just works in the background, cutting through the noise and reminding you to think for yourself. In a way, common sense is about slowing down. In a world that rewards speed, snap judgments, and instant gratification, common sense asks us to pause. It's the antidote to the fast-talking salesman or the viral TED Talk that makes everything seem simpler than it really is. Instead of giving you a quick, easy answer, common sense nudges you to sit with the complexity and trust your own judgment, even if it's not as thrilling as the latest productivity hack or investing secret. This is the lesson of the end of wisdom. Flashy anecdotes may entertain or comfort us, but they rarely lead us to real understanding. Common sense, while far less exciting, is what helps us navigate the actual world, not the polished one presented in a TED Talk. It's what tells you when to be skeptical of the man with all the answers, and it's what gives you the patience to sit with a problem long enough to see it clearly. In the end, it's common sense that saves us from our worst intellectual impulses. It's the little voice that says, "This sounds good, but is it true?" It's what encourages you to question, to be cautious, and to never settle for easy answers in a world that offers very few. The above was an excerpt from the updated The End of Wisdom: Why Most Advice is Useless.